And welcome to our fourth and final episode with Kevin Fisher from Ark Discovery International, found at arkdiscovery.com. And today we're talking about something we haven't talked much about on Shabbat Night Live, so we're very glad you're here. We are talking about the Ark, which is Noah's Ark. We usually talk about Ark of the Covenant. We talked about that on the last episode. Now we're going to get into Noah's Ark. So tell us all about Noah's Ark, where it was found, all the fascinating details around it.
Yes, this is the site, again, found by Wyatt. In 1977, he went out there and God helped him locate it. He prayed and God, did help him find it. It had been shown in Life magazine previously, but in 1960, but it was kind of cast aside and not enough attention given to it. But we're going to head out there and take a look at the real site.
All right. Now this is the first thing I found fascinating, that we always assume it's on Mount Ararat, but it's not really Mount Ararat, and I'll let you give the detail on that.
Yes. The Bible says the ark came to rest in the mountains of Ararat, mountains plural, and Ararat. Now the name Ararat is the name of an ancient country called Urartu. And so the ark was to come to rest in the mountains of this ancient country of Urartu. And that is where it was found. It was found within the borders of the ancient country, covering Turkey, Armenia, and edge of Iran. So it is in the correct location according to the Bible.
All right.
So with our slides here, our first slide, we're starting out in Istanbul. Usually if you're coming from America, you'll fly into Istanbul. And one of the nice sites to go to is at the Hagia Sophia Mosque. It was originally a Christian church, built in the 6th century, and for 1,000 years, if you can imagine, for 1,000 years, it was the largest Christian church until the Vatican was built. But it's great to go inside of that. And then the next day, you fly out to eastern Turkey, and here we see the famed Mount Ararat in the distance. There's no clouds. Usually it's enshrouded by clouds. And
there's no ark there either.
No. The ark's there, just a lark. But a lot of false stories, and as Ron Wyatt would say, that would muddy the water when these false stories one after another over there on Mount Ararat. But that's one of the last places. Here's a close-up of the mountain peak there, very tall, 17,000 feet high, but it's a post-flood volcanic mountain. You see all these lava flows coming out from it. And so it's one of the last places you would want to look for Noah's Ark.
So now people assume, they go on the assumption that, well, it's a tall mountain, there was water all over, it was the first peak that appeared, and therefore that's where it is.
Yes, but that's a wrong assumption. Also, it's hard for a boat to come to rest on a conical shaped mountain. It's just, you cannot move over and become lodged in it.
Not to mention the fact it was post-flood.
Yes, post-flood. It didn't exist right at the time of the flood.
And a volcano that would have obliterated anything with lava flows and etc.
So Genesis 8:4, the ark rested upon the mountains of Ararat, the mountains plural, and we said Ararat is a name of an ancient country called Urartu. And in Encyclopedia Britannica, the name Ararat, as it appears in the Bible, is a Hebrew equivalent of Urartu, ancient country of Southwest Asia, mentioned in Syrian sources from the 13th century BC. So again, Urartu, I stayed at the Urartu Hotel my first visit out there. So they're still using the name out there in eastern Turkey. So if you drive from that town, Dagobazit, it's about a town of 50,000 people there near the Ark. But if you head about 10 miles away, you'll see a road sign, the only road through the area. There's a road sign that says Nuhan Gamishi, 5 kilometers, or Noah's Ark, or Noah's Big Boat is up the road here. So this is a government erected road sign acknowledging Noah's Ark is up the road. And so here's another angle of the sign, and the mountain in the background there is where the ark is located. This is sedimentary Cretaceous water-laid rock. This is not, volcanic mountain that came up afterwards. This is rock from the time of the flood. And from that vantage point, using a zoom lens, I was able to capture on the left here, left center, you see the ark formation that kind of flat area.
Oh, down below there, yes.
Yes.
Center left, okay.
And to the right, and near the center, you see the roof of the Visitor Center at Noah's Ark. In 1987, there's a visitor center was dedicated and built commemorating Noah's Ark National Park. So, you know, the government has acknowledged this as the place for Noah's Ark. Now, in the 1st century, Flavius Josephus stated, its remains are shown there by the inhabitants to this day. So it was not hidden away in some glacier over on Mount Ararat. It was in an accessible location like it is today. It's about 6,300 feet up at the current location above sea level.
So there are even inhabitants there, even in Josephus's time.
The locals there, there's a village right above the Ark here where they were probably hosting visitors, you know, coming to Noah's Ark. That may have been known as the Noah's Ark Village or something, you know, in ancient times. So here's another graphic of the Ark and a rainbow and the visitor center to the right behind the trees. But Ron's first visit out there in 1977, they had 3 days in the area. He had a 2-week vacation from his work to travel out there, 5.5 days traveling.
Whew.
And 5.5 days to get back. He had 3 days in the area. And what do you do if you don't, he didn't really know where it was located. The 1960 group couldn't tell him. All they could tell him was it was on a mountain range and there was Mount Ararat in the distance. But that's still a needle in a haystack. And you've only got 3 days. So he and his sons prayed, and they hired a taxi. They prayed that God would show them a sign. And when they started driving down these roads, after a while the taxi stalled. It stopped. And they got excited. They said, hey, this may be a sign from God. And they put a pile of stones next to the road there.
Smart.
Yeah. And then the taxi started, and they got back in. So 3 times that day, the taxi stopped, and they put a pile of stones there. The next day, they went back to these piles of stones and walked directly out from them. And what they found was Noah's Ark, sea anchors that hung from the Ark, and the remains of an ancient structure connected to Noah, perhaps his house or something.
So they took this taxi, not knowing where they were going, and just said, drive us around, we're trying to find something.
That's right. So, but it worked. I mean,
It did.
God was in control. I mean, he's in control.
God was not the co-pilot that day. He was the pilot.
He was the pilot. So today, this is the visitor center. When you come up to the visitor center, they have displays inside where you can see the various pieces of information or artifacts or evidence that's been uncovered over the years at the Ark site. No one has ever been issued a permit to excavate this. Now, that's not any of our fault. The government just has never approved an excavation permit. So far, there's just been surface inspection done and a little bit of, well, there's a core drill done that we'll talk about later, but no formal excavation. And then there's a visitor center guest book where people are signing in from all different nations, and people are writing, writing, you know, exciting comments about.
So Japan, we see Holland, Poland. People come from all over the world to this place.
Yeah, when you're down there, we spent days down there at the Ark site, and you'll see tourists coming in vans, tour groups. And one after another, tour group coming there and looking down upon the Ark. So people are coming there, on a regular basis from all over the world to see the Ark site. And when I went there the first time in 2000, I had a newspaper article from the Knoxville newspaper that had the image of the Ark and had the visitor center curator there, Hassan Ozer. He was in the photo. So I got a copy of that newspaper. I had it laminated, and I took it there to Hassan there in the visitor center and gave it to him. He was very appreciative of it.